been over 60 years since Newcastle United have last won a trophy. They got to the final, just couldn't quite make it, going down 2-0 against United. But they are sitting pretty in 5th position right now, still in that hunt for the Champions League places. However, form has dipped recently. And I'm going to go over now 3 players that I think Eddie Howe needs to make a big call on this summer. A huge call. And depending on which way this goes, this could decide Newcastle United's short-term future and also potentially the future of Eddie Howe, because I think these decisions are absolutely massive. If we quickly take a look at the Premier League table, as I said, they're sitting there in 4th position. They're doing very well. However, form has dipped recently. They're now, 4 points behind Tottenham. Yes, they do have a couple of games in hand, but guys, look at this form recently. Only one win in the last 5 games there. So clearly, something's not right. We're going to get into it. And in my opinion, it's the goals for. And in fact, if we go back to that, you can have a look at the goals for. Only scored 35 goals this season. Clearly a massive issue. Yes, the defence is great, but they need to improve their goal scoring. Now, I want to start off with Allan Saint-Maximin. A brilliant player to watch. We all love watching Maximin. Yeah, he's really quite exciting. However, for me, and I know this will possibly upset some Newcastle fans, I just don't think he's Newcastle quality. What I think Newcastle fans have to do, and I'm sure most of them have already realised this, they have to now get it into their mindset that they are now an elite level club because they have elite level finance. You have elite level finance and you're an elite level club in my book. That's the way it works, because finance gets you better players and then obviously you can compete for trophies. Is Maximin, hand on heart, good enough for Newcastle right now in this phase of where they want to be as a football club? And in my view, that should be competing to get in the top 4 and then obviously competing in the Champions League. Not talking going and win it. I'm saying, first couple of years, can you get out the group stages, etc., etc. Hand on heart, do you think Saint-Maximin is good enough for that? My opinion, as a neutral, I love watching the guy. I do not think he's good enough. I do not think he's he don't get enough goals. Don't get enough assists. He's great to watch. Let's be honest. We all love watching Maximin. He always does mad stuff. I don't even think he knows what he's doing half the time. He's great watch. But at this period of Newcastle's future / history, where they're going, I think they need to make a big call on him, and I think they need to get rid of him. I think they could get some serious money for him. I mean, if you look at the contract situation, he's contracted there until 2026. Transfer market's got an estimated value of 40 million. He's only got 1 goal and 4 assists this season. Granted, he's had his injuries, obviously, that never helped. But even if you go back to last year, 37 games, 5 goals, 5 assists. Honestly, guys, I just don't think he's good enough. My opinion. And if it was me, if I was Eddie Howe, I'd look at what do you need to improve? Well, clearly your defence is fine. Your goalkeeper's fine. Your defence is fine. Your midfield is very good. I mean, obviously, big questions are whether he can actually keep Bruno Guimaraes at the club, because a lot of clubs are going to be wanting him. He's been absolutely fantastic. But what do you need to improve? It's the forward line. And for me, again, I know this might upset some Newcastle fans, but I think he needs to be moved on, or at least be benched and get someone in. That's my personal opinion. Let's move on to another player that I think has no future at Newcastle United, and that is this guy, Miguel Almiron. He's been absolutely brilliant this season, and his goals completely the opposite to Saint-Maximin. He's playing with confidence. I mean, to be fair as well, I actually didn't think he had a terrible game against Man United. I thought, yes, okay, he didn't create no chances or anything, but I thought when he was eager to get on the ball, I thought he was decent in that regard. He works very hard. He's very passionate. He wants to do the best at all times. But you've got to look at him and go, is he good enough? I think he's massively exceeding his level with these stats. I really do. 10 goals, 3 assists. He's not a 1 in 3. You don't get the goal every 3 games, Miguel Almiron, in my opinion. So for me, I've got to say it, I don't think he's good enough. I don't even think this guy's good enough for the bench, in my opinion. And again, you've got to be ruthless. You can't just look at these players and go, oh, he's had a decent year, he works really hard, he's a nice lad, keep him in. You've got to be ruthless in this business. If this guy's not good enough, you've got to move him on. And for me, guys, if I was Eddie Howe, I'd look at him, I'd go, okay, you're 29 years old, you contracted until 2026, you've had a good season. I think he's exceeding, he is exceeding his XG, by the way. If you look at his expected goals, he is exceeding it. I think he's exceeding his expected goals for about 3 or 4. So he's getting more goals than the quality really is there. I'd move him on. I think it's a great time to cash in. He's 29, he's in his peak, and you could probably get a decent sum summer money for him based on his current form. But I think he can do miles better than Miguel Almiron. And that brings me to another player. Now, this player isn't one that I'm going to say you have to get rid of. Alexander Isak, because clearly that would be massively, massively harsh on the lad. He joined in the summer, massive fee, 65 million quid, something like that. It's young, it's a gamble. Clearly, I'm not saying get rid of him in the summer. But you need to be quick on the decision making on this. You cannot afford to give this guy years. Because Newcastle don't have years in terms of, Liverpool will be back soon. Chelsea are spending £1 billion a year. City are Pep Guardiola, the best manager in the world, and have a very good bank balance, as we all know. United now going from strength to strength. What I'm saying with Alexander Isak is this. When I've seen him, I think he looks okay. I don't think he looks anything special, but I think he looks okay. For the money that Newcastle have paid, I think you've got to run him for a season, clearly. I'd give him next season as the number one, because for me, Callum Wilson's 31 years old. He's not your future. He's not Newcastle's future. You've got to be looking to the future here. So for me, I go into next season, and I say to Alexander Isak, you're going to be my number one striker next season. Prove that you can lead this club. I mean, he's 23 years old. Prove to me that you can lead the line for this club for the next 10 years. But if he doesn't do it next season, a decision then has to be made in the summer of, what will that be, 2024? Boom, make a decision. Not necessarily get rid of it, but you've got to get someone else in who can do the job, because goals are what's costing Newcastle right now. And again, if we go back to the Premier League table, look, you scored 35 goals this season. I mean, look at the teams around you. 40, 64, 52. I mean, this is where Newcastle want to be, right? This is what they want to do. They want to compete for trophies. They want to compete with league titles. So for me, massive, massive pressure on Alexander Isak. I think it was a huge gamble spending that much money on someone who is unproven at the top level. So therefore, you do have to give him time. He's obviously had a few injuries this season as well. And he's had the pressure of Callum Wilson's been really good. I'm a massive fan of Callum Wilson. And if we're not talking about Newcastle here, I wouldn't be saying he should be leading the line. I think he's a brilliant striker. He's England international, but he's 31 years old. Newcastle have to be thinking about the future. So for me, Isak, big question mark over his future. Can he deliver? To be honest with you, they're kind of in an awkward position right now, because they've kind of fucked the top four in a sense, because maybe about a month ago or something, it was in their hands really, and it still is in their hands, but they kind of let it slip with poor performances, lack of goals, lack of chance creativity, and now they need to go for it. So now the question is, what do you do now to the rest of the season? Do you run Callum Wilson, who's more suited to the here and now, you know what I mean, or do you run Isak and say, okay, Isak, you are my striker going forward, so I'm going to play you now, and you are going to start every single game. It's a very interesting thing that Eddie Howe's got to manage this. But for me, he's got some massive, massive decisions to make, Eddie Howe, because the front three is where I think Newcastle are really weak. I think they're really weak in that position. So it's going to be an interesting one. Me personally, people who know me from City Extra and various other channels will know that I want Newcastle to compete. I want fucking the end of Man United's dominance and Liverpool. I want a new breed of clubs coming through in this next era. And for me, I think Newcastle have a great opportunity doing that. I think Eddie Howe's proven his worth 100%, but he's got to make big decisions. And if he doesn't, and he gets these big decisions wrong and he doesn't get the results, the Saudis will not wait. They will not hesitate to move him on and get someone else in. Do not rest on your laurels. Do not continue to play players just because they're nice or just because they've hit decent form. Play players based on their quality. That's all I have to say on the matter. It's going to be a really interesting summer for Eddie Howe. Let's see what he does. Let's see how much money Newcastle spend. But the front three is where the team needs work. You've seen it yesterday in the Carabao Cup final. Very little chance creation for Maximin and Almiron. Wilson was chasing shadows. You know what I mean? He wasn't getting no service. It's time to refresh that in the summer. 2 new wingers, run Isak, and let's see what happens. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video, man. Make sure you leave a comment down below what you think about what I've said. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there any other players in there that you think need to be moved on as a matter of sort of urgency? Make sure you smash a like. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. See you in a bit.